So previously I made a video about a blog that I made that got to up to 28,000 users per month, and it was ranking for a bunch of keywords on page 1 on Google in the US nationally. I'll put a link above here if you want to go watch that video. And in this video, I want to cover what happened to that website since. So right when I made that initial video was right before the Google helpful content update, which if you've been following what's been happening with SEO, decimated a bunch of websites and caused a lot of problems and upset a whole lot of people. And to this day, along with the other updates they rolled out since, has been creating havoc on Google. And a lot of websites dropped as a result of that update, including mine, and I thought it would be fair to make a follow-up video on that previous video to show what's actually happened with this website since. Now, I want to preface this whole video with the fact that I haven't touched this website for almost a year. I made some minor changes about June, July of last year. I removed a couple of pages and made some redirects, but that was it. It was nothing huge. And other than that, I have not touched the website since, including now. So I haven't even attempted to fix anything or improve it in any way. I've just left it because it's only a side project of mine, and I'm not particularly fussed about it at the moment. But I wanted to cover what exactly happened because I think it's useful for exactly the impacts of the Google updates were since. So one of the interesting things to note about this is that this website didn't have a single paragraph of AI text on it. So that's the first thing I want to make a note of, because when I wrote all the content on this article was back before I knew about ZimWriter. I'm not even sure ZimWriter existed back then. It was in the early stages of like ChatGPT had recently came out a few months before that, etc. And it was not at the level that it could write about what I was writing about. It was too technical. It just didn't have the knowledge of what I was trying to write about. And I tested it out and it would just spit out the exact same content for like every brand of wheel or every brand of coilover that I tried. So it was basically useless. So every single article on that website was literally handwritten by myself. And so that's what's interesting, is that despite the fact that it was all genuine user written content, human written, it still dropped after that as well. So it's not an AI content issue, especially with all these guys who are saying that AI content can't rank, blah, blah, blah. Well, up until now, my AI content is still ranking, and this is the only website that actually dropped in that update, and yet this is the only one that doesn't have, well, I wouldn't say only one, but one of the only ones that didn't have any AI content whatsoever. So that's what's interesting. Now, the other note that I've just said as well is that this is the only websites that's actually dropped in this update. All of the other websites I'm managing haven't dropped at all, which is very interesting. But let's go into the details of this. So when I made the previous video was around September, and it was like right at the peak of it. Now, this graph is actually completely inaccurate because I'm still getting way more than 2,000 users a month, but SEMrush's graphs are known to be inaccurate. I'm going to prove that to you now. If we go into Google Analytics, you can see the graph since last year, February 1st till February now. You can see around the peak, it hit about 1,100 users per day on the highest day, which was 13th of September. And since it's declined a bit and gone to about half of that, where you can see on average around here is getting about 800 users. And then now it's getting about 450-ish approximately. So it's actually come down, and now it's to about half of where it was. If we take a look at January, you'll see that it had about 12,000 users in total, 13,500, 12,000 which organic search, 1,200 of which were direct. Now the direct are returning visitors because I'm not running any other marketing or anything like that. So it'll be people who came back. So approximately 12 to 13,000, which is about half of the peak when it hit 28,000. So, and one other thing, just to also double this, you can see here as well, Google Search Console is reporting about 300-ish, 350-ish clicks a day, which is slightly lower than what's showing on analytics. So this is approximately what it's showing. This was again the peak. So you can see that it's definitely a lot higher than what SEMrush is showing, but it did definitely drop from that peak in September. And this is the whole graph overall since when I started the blog in November up until today. So what's interesting about this is why this has happened, because obviously I've had a bit of a look into this. I haven't dug into it in huge detail, but I've looked into it to see what caused this and what didn't. And there's one particular pattern I've noticed that's probably the biggest impactor here, and that is to do with search intent. So firstly, I don't believe this website was penalized for any reason. It doesn't look like a penalty, and the fact that it's still ranking #1 for a lot of keywords and is still getting about half of the traffic it used to, that's not a penalty as such. However, it's not ranking for a lot of keywords, and the reason I believe why is because a lot of the keywords that I was ranking for and getting a lot of the traffic from were actually commercial based keywords, so commercial intent keywords. So if we take a look, I'll open the ranking report as well so we can compare the dates. And if let's open all the keywords and we'll take a look around September what it was ranking for to today. So we'll go let's go September 13th. That was the peak day up until today, yesterday. And so now we're going to be able to see the biggest drops that happen. And then this pattern, I believe, is going to explain a lot of things. So you can see that it's still ranking number 1. And it's ranking number 1 for keywords that have like informational based intent. So things like, are certain brand wheels reps? Are certain wheels bad? Are they good quality? Let's say wheel review, informational type thing here, because this is an odd keyword. So this one's interesting. The search intent's not quite right on that one, but you can see reviews, questions. It's still ranking for a lot of the reviews and questions based keywords, as you can see here. However, if we go down to the ones that majorly dropped, and I'll just sort it by the ones that dropped the most, you can see here the sharp decline right between the week after, basically, and then it's kind of been a steady down since. We will have a look and we'll go difference and we'll go highest difference. And now what we'll see, at least according to my previous assessment, is that it dropped for a lot of the commercial intent keywords. So what I mean by that is ones that people are looking to buy something. So for instance, best 350Z rims, best G37 coilovers, best wheels for 350Z. These kinds of keywords, which are very commercial or transactional intent, like Mazda Speed 3 coilovers, that's basically someone looking to buy anything. It dropped on most of those completely. And so what I find interesting about this is that if we take a look at what search results actually show up for these, when I previously wrote the blog and actually did the blog, what was actually ranking for that was a mix of commercial intent keywords and other people doing roundup posts like what I did, which was best, wheels for car model or best suspension for car model. Whereas if we look now, what's interesting is these guys still rank, which is interesting because they were ranking previously as well, though they're a much bigger website. But a lot of the things that came up since have been like a different intent. So for instance, a lot of forums came up, which is more user generated content that Google was looking for. And a lot of actual products came up as opposed to information-based keywords. So this one is not exactly a very good example of what I'm showing here because there are still some like information, well, there's 1 or 2 roundup posts and a lot of the user-generated content stuff. But if we take a look at something like, try and find a good one, like S2000 coilover. So I was ranking number 2 for that, as you can see here. If we put that in now, what you will see is it's all product-based keywords. So this is a product, this is a product, this is a forum, which is one of the things Google's been prioritizing since that update, which has caused a lot of havoc, is like Reddit posts and forums, even though people were spamming Reddit posts and it wasn't giving the good answers that people wanted, but that was what started ranking. And then the rest are all products, as you can see here. These are all product pages. There's no roundup posts. And so that is where most of my loss came on this website, at least, was because of the commercial keywords, as you can see there. Most of the ones you can see down here were all specifically looking for either a brand or a car model coilover, which is a transactional or commercial intent keyword, and mine dropped because mine are not commercial intent blogs. They were roundup blogs, which was, you could argue commercial, but it was mainly informational. So I think that was one of the biggest reasons that caused a lot of these to drop. Some of them still rank but low, as you can see here, like Honda Civic, Corvette coilovers, things like that. But the ones that stayed were all the review based ones. So if we keep going back now to the ones that dropped the least, we can see here that, for instance, this one, which is an informational keyword, that one has dropped also. However, it is still ranking. And if we keep going to more the how-to review type stuff, like how to install coilovers, that one's still there, although it dropped a bit. And best coilover brands, that one is still in the results as well. So these are all recoverable. Another review one. As you can see, we're now starting to get into the reviews, which is where the less of the drops happened. Now, there's a couple other factors here that I also believe are impacting this as well. I don't think it's purely just the informational intent. I think it's also to do with the lack of backlinks on this website now, and the fact that a lot of this content is now a year old and potentially updated. So I think those two factors are impacting the site, as well as the fact that I have not posted anything on the site for about a year now. No new content at all for about a year, and I don't think that's helping this scenario either. And so I think all of these things have come together to create this scenario, and I'm going to test this theory out because I do intend to test some changes and see what happens when I make changes, maybe update some of these pieces of content, make some updates, add some new pages, etc. And we'll see what happens. It's not exactly high priority on my list, which is why I haven't jumped to try and fix this, but But just from observing this, I've got a few ideas as to what will fix it. Now, the other thing, like I said, I mentioned is the backlinks. Now, one thing that Google's been doing to try and combat a lot of the AI stuff has been to make backlinks even more relevant than they used to be. So they've been going back and forth on this issue of backlinks for a long time because people have abused the backlinks, but now people are abusing the content because of the AI thing. So the only thing they can really do to combat this is to go back to backlinks and prioritize relevant, good quality backlinks for this. Now, I mentioned previously in that other video that I didn't make any backlinks to this website at all, and that is still true. I didn't. The only thing I did was about 20, I think it was 20 or 25 citations just to make it look like a real business. That was the only thing I did, and no other backlinks at all that I personally made. So all of these backlinks that came about are purely natural backlinks. And if we look at my authority score, it's very low. It's number 10. If we take a look at one of the competitors, one of the ones that showed up in the number 1 position, we'll take a look at them. It was this website, and we'll take a look and you'll see that their authority score is much bigger. So you can see their authority score is 43, and they have 16,000 referring domains. And if we take a look at them, they seem to have had a bit of a drop off as well around that period, which is interesting. About half of their traffic, according to SEMrush, which may or may not be accurate, but they seem to have had a bit of a drop off as well. But you can see that their authority score is way bigger and they have way more referring domains than I do. And that's probably a key factor here as to why they still rank for some of the keywords I dropped off on. And if we look at one other thing, which is the actual link profile of the referring domains, what you'll see on my one is that the referring domains are actually very low authority score overall. So if we go into the backlink analysis and throw my website in here, what we'll see as well is that the referring domains by authority score, the ratio is very much on the low end, 0 to 10 authority score links coming to my website, which means I'm not getting a lot of high quality backlinks, and that's because I haven't gone out of my way to make any. And so that's one of the reasons I believe that has also caused this drop, because one of the big things that did happen in this update is, if you've been paying attention to this, a lot of niche websites got killed off. This is a niche website. And so basically that's the issue. Whereas this other website, let's take a look at their referring domain ratio as well, but they're a much, much bigger website getting 500,000 plus views a month. And so that in itself will have helped them because they're a bigger, more established website. They will have had more power. And you can see here, yeah, they have a lot of these as well, but they've got a lot more of higher authority referring domains as well. And that will have helped them to do with this, the fact that they're a bigger authority, which is one thing that Google was ranking after this update. A lot of websites that were not even relevant, but like, for example, like Medium articles and things like that, they weren't even really relevant to the keyword, but they were ranking just on pure authority, as well as the backlink thing, because that was, I guess, Google's way of combating the AI content which just spammed the internet. And so they were like, well, let's just reward, quality backlinks and high authority sites because that's the safe bet to do. And because considering that mine was a niche site that was relatively small, all things considering, I think that's what hit it. So I wanted to show what happened with this website because I thought it's a very interesting case study. Now, I've got a few ideas on what to do to try and recover it. So I'm gonna test out a few things when I get some time and see what happens, and then I'll report back on that, what happens with what direction I decide to take and what's going to happen with that, because I think that's going to make interesting content as well to see where that goes. But we'll see from there. I won't promise anything, but when I get around to it, I'll make some updates and see what happens. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you'd like me to coach you on how to do SEO or Google ads for only $49 a month, go to learndominatemarketing.com. And if you'd like us to do your SEO or Google ads, go to dominatemarketing.io and book a call with us there. I'll catch you on the next one.